In order to use your plasma cutter with the machine, you must install the torch control cable. This allows the machine to directly control your plasma cutter and monitor its status. Make sure you use the plasma cutter to verify that it works correctly before you install the torch control cable. Disassembling and wiring into your plasma cutter may affect your warranty. However, your plasma cutter will not be adversely affected if the installation is carried out properly. You must follow all of these general instructions and testing steps regardless of which plasma cutter you are wiring. Exact measurements must be done to verify correct installation at the end of this section. Severe damage and injury may result if any of the steps in this section are neglected. The torch control cable may only be installed by a qualified electrician. Plasma cutters contain dangerous high voltage when powered, up to 400 volts. The unit must be completely disconnected from a power outlet for 10 minutes before the cover can be removed. The cover must be reinstalled before power can be connected again. Do not wire the torch control cable to use any existing machine interface connector on your plasma cutter. They don't normally provide all the proper signals needed by the system, and rarely do they include the mating connectors that you would need if you were to use them. You will need these tools to install the torch control cable. They are a drill with a 19/32 or 5/8 drill bit, a wire cutter and crimper, a small adjustable wrench, a digital multimeter, and screwdrivers, nut drivers, or Allen wrenches, depending on the fasteners used in your plasma cutter. This section gives the general steps required to install the torch control cable in most any plasma cutter, using the Lincoln ProCut 55 as an example. The following section gives additional details for installing the cable in many specific plasma cutters commonly used with the system. If your model is shown, follow both the general and specific instructions. If you are wiring a hand torch, you do not need to purchase a machine interface if given the option. Also, a remote pendant switch should not be used with your plasma cutter once the torch control cable is installed. If you are wiring a machine torch, you will need to have some type of manual trigger switch installed. Test the switch to verify that it activates cutting before you install the torch control cable. Follow the general instructions shown for wiring and testing a hand torch, but refer to the manual trigger in place of the hand torch trigger. In the next topic, find and locate a trigger wire that runs to the manual switch cord, not the torch cable. Completely disconnect the plasma cutter from the power outlet and wait 10 minutes before continuing. Remove the main cover so you can easily access the internal wiring. Find the point where the torch cable enters the power supply. Inside the unit, you will notice small wires running out from this point. If possible, follow these wires until they terminate at a connector. Unplug the connector or connectors. Set the meter to the lowest range of resistance measurement and watch for a reading of 0 to indicate continuity. Squeeze the trigger of the torch and touch the probes to various combinations of connector terminals until you discover continuity between two terminals. If continuity remains when you release the trigger, keep searching. If continuity ceases when you release the trigger, you have found a trigger wire. Be sure the wire you select is not a common wire also used for the consumable cup safety switch. Cut the wire a few inches back from the connector. Again, find the point where the torch cable enters the power supply. Inside the unit, you should find a large wire or group of common wires running out from this point. In this example, the wire attaches to a terminal right at the junction. If this is not the case, follow the large wire until it terminates at a connector. Remove the cup and nozzle from the torch. With the meter set to check for continuity, touch one probe to the electrode inside the torch and touch the other probe to the terminal you found. If continuity is present between these 2 points, you have found an electrode terminal. Otherwise, keep searching. If the unit has a high-frequency, high-voltage start, use a terminal at the other end of the high-voltage transformer, as in this example. Find the point where the work clamp wire enters the power supply and trace it to a terminal inside the unit. In this case, an insulating jacket must be temporarily removed in order to access the terminal. With the meter set to check for continuity, touch one probe to the work clamp and touch the other probe to the terminal you found. If continuity is present between these 2 points, you have found a work clamp terminal. Otherwise, keep searching. Find a clear area at the back of the case to locate the strain relief for the torch control cable. The location should provide direct access to the trigger wire and terminals you located. Drill a 19/32 or 5/8 hole in the case. Be careful to drill in a location where the drill bit won't damage circuitry or wiring after it penetrates the case. If the unit has an additional outer plastic panel, also drill a larger clearance hole in the plastic for the strain relief to fit. Be sure to clean all metal chips and debris out of the unit. Unpack the contents of the torch control wiring kit. The kit contains connectors commonly needed for most cutters. However, some cutters need additional connectors not included. Route the loose wires of the cable through the hole from the outside and insert the strain relief into the hole. Be careful to not bend the cable in this area where extra insulation covers the wires that branch out, or the cable may be damaged. Then route the wires through the plastic nut from the kit. Tighten the nut onto the strain relief. Strip both pieces of the cut trigger wire and crimp a 1/4-inch tab onto one and a 1/4-inch receptacle onto the other from the kit. The order of these connectors doesn't matter. Connect them to the mating 1/4-inch terminals on the small white and black wires of the torch control cable. Slide the cable through the strain relief to take out any extra slack. Then tighten the strain relief clamp onto the cable. Be careful to not over-tighten the strain relief clamp or you may cut the torch control cable. Separate the red and black wires of the torch control cable so they can route to their respective terminals. The red wire goes to the electrode terminal and the black wire goes to the work clamp terminal. Cut both wires to length and strip the ends. Crimp on appropriate connectors from the kit. In this case, 2 ring connectors are used. Attach the connector on the red wire to the electrode terminal. Then attach the connector on the black wire to the work clamp terminal. Be sure to put everything back as it was, such as this insulator over the work clamp terminal. Make sure all the wires of the torch control cable are routed through protected areas inside the case, away from components, sharp edges, and pinch points. Reinstall the cover of the plasma cutter using all the screws you removed. Then connect the unit to a power outlet and a compressed air supply. Before you connect the unit to the machine, you must perform the following tests to verify that it is wired correctly. Perform these tests even if you are wiring a model that is covered in the following section.